Most homeowners underestimate their flooring project by 30 to 50%, and luxury vinyl plank is no exception. In this video, I'm not just going to show you what LVP flooring really costs, I'm going to walk you through a real project quote, line by line, so you know exactly what you're paying for, what can drive up the price, and what most contractors leave out. Let me give you an example. We had a client who hired another company to do their first floor of their home. They went with the cheapest quote, but halfway through the job, the company told them it would be another $1,500 for the subfloor preparation, something they hadn't included in the original quote, and the homeowner wasn't prepared to pay for the extra cost. By the time they were ready for the second floor, they didn't want to hire the same company, so they called us. We gave them a full quote that included everything up front: leveling, grinding, furniture moving, everything needed. And that made all the difference in their budgeting and planning. The quote we will take a look at is for a 1,000 square foot LVP flooring installation we recently completed, and I'm going to walk you through every step so you know where every dollar went and why. Let's start with materials. The client chose a 6mm stone plastic composite LVP with a 20mm wear layer. It was priced at $3.50 per square foot, which brought the cost for the flooring material to $3,541. On top of that, we added primed and painted shoe molding for $290, two transition strips for $140, and $850 for the self-leveling compound. Altogether, the total material came out to $4,821. Now you might be curious about the self-leveling cost, but it's there for a reason. We include grinding and leveling on every single job we do. I've never actually came across a subfloor that didn't need it. And skipping the step is one of the biggest ways other contractors cut corners. If your installer isn't talking about subfloor preparation or self-leveler, there's a good chance it's not getting done. Now let's talk about labor. This client's labor costs included $500 for removing and disposing of carpet, $2,500 for LVP installation, and $612 for installing new trim. We also charged $500 to move the furniture, $250 to remove and reinstall toilets, and $150 to disconnect and reconnect the washer and dryer. Subfloor grinding and leveling came out to $850. When you add it all up, the labor cost totaled to $5,362. That brings the full project cost, including materials, labor, and tax, to $10,922. But remember, this is just one example. LVP flooring costs can vary a lot depending on the project. Projects can range anywhere from $8 a square foot all the way up to $13, $14 a square foot, depending on the material you choose, the complexity of the space, and what's hiding underneath your existing floors. But the average square foot price for LVP that we see is around $9 to $11 a square foot, with all materials and labor included. Here are a few key factors that influence the cost. First, thicker planks and stronger wear layers typically cost more. An SPC core is more rigid and more durable than WPC, which usually means a higher price tag. SPC is made with stone, so it's tougher. WPC has a wood core, so it's a bit softer underfoot, but not as strong. Name brand products often come with better warranties, but they also come in at a higher cost. Some LVPs have more realistic textures and visuals, which also adds to the cost. Click lock variations are generally quicker and less expensive to install than glue down products. And if your room has staircases, odd angles, or extremely damaged subfloor beyond the normal scope of work, those things can increase the cost as well. I always say you can install the same exact LVP in two different homes and still end up with totally different price tags, all because of the scope of the project. So when a company gives you a cheaper quote by skipping the preparation steps, they might be taking a risk on your floor without even giving you the chance to decide. At our company here in Raleigh, North Carolina, Atlas Flooring and Design, we've seen too many floors fail because of that kind of neglect. That's why we made it our standard to do proper preparation on every single project, and we back up our work with a lifetime guarantee. Now, just to give you some context on where LVP fits in overall when it comes to price, it's generally cheaper than hardwood and a little less than premium laminate, but it's more expensive than carpet and way easier to install than tile, especially if you're trying to go the DIY route. Now, if you're thinking about ways to cut costs, here are a few things to watch out for. First, buying a cheap or closeout LVP can seem like a win, but you may be sacrificing quality, or worse, the product might be getting discontinued, making it impossible to match later if you need more. Second, Trying to install it yourself can lead to trouble if you're not preparing the subfloor correctly. That's one of the most common reasons floors fail early. Most homeowners just don't have the tools or knowledge to do it right, and fixing a bad install usually costs more than doing it right the first time. And third, like I mentioned before, hiring the company with the cheapest quote sounds tempting, but I've seen what happens. They'll often skip the leveling and grinding, use cheaper quality materials or trim, and rush the job. Then you're left paying for it later. Another thing to keep in mind is the hidden costs. You should always budget about 10 to 15% extra for waste. Count up all your transitions, trim pieces, and underlayment. And make sure you're factoring the cost of moving furniture, removing toilet, and fixing anything under the old flooring. If the company you're looking to hire doesn't specify these items in their estimate, they're most likely not going to do them. So always make sure you receive a detailed estimate on the work the company will perform. Knowing the cost is one thing, making sure the install is done right is another. So watch this next video that shows you exactly how to spot a quality flooring company from a mile away and what mistakes to avoid that cost homeowners thousands.